Okay, the format is we are going to go through. I'm going to look at gold and silver this morning. I'm going to look at what we've been doing, where the gold and silver market is now, and ways that I believe we can still make some money out of this. And for those who've been with us for years will know I started banging on about gold during COVID and then really started to pump and buy into the physical metal in 2022 when gold was around $1,800 an ounce and silver was about I think $17, $18. So as you've seen, gold again today is pushing for all-time highs. This is usually when the retail investor gets sucked in and then it promptly will pull back, which would be expected. So I certainly wouldn't be rushing to get in now, but that's not to say that it is still going to continue to be a good investment. And there is a way of getting leverage on gold, and I think we still have some opportunities. So I'm going to share some of those with you as well. I thought I did make you a panelist, Ashley. I think people were coming in that quick, it moved the list. Hang on, where's Ashley gone? Promote to panelist. Morning, Farah in Malaysia, and Anton. Not sure where you are. And who else we got? Say, Zoom's weird these days. It lets people in one at a time.
All
Uh,
good now, Mark.
goody, goody. We've got two
Yeah.
Marks with us this morning. On teacher, I think on teachers in Thailand, and Tobias. Very Scandinavian surname and first name. I'm guessing that you're Scandinavian, although you might be the Tobias from Australia as well. Anton says, hey, all. And Tobias, yes, from Sweden. I got it right. Not difficult, really, was it? Ben is in France at the moment. Ben is a deep sea diver, one of the most dangerous jobs in the world. And to give you a clue, so if you're new or you're a guest, let me just quickly find the blog. Can you see my screen at the minute, Ash?
Yes.
Okay. So quickly down here, this is Ben. So always smiling, one of the most positive people I ever met. And since we recorded this video, this is in the external blog and it's somewhere inside the members area, but we do that many posts in a month that they get hidden. But Ben was up 293% last year. And this is after 10 years of trading very badly. And when he came to me for some private coaching, he had just lost 9 out of 10 of his most recent trades and was on the verge of quitting, as many people are that come to join us and try our service. They've been through all the bullshit and they bought all the shiny toys, paid a lot of gurus that didn't know what they were doing, and eventually end up at our door, almost on the way out of this industry. I'm doing really well, thank you, on teacher. So on to today's subjects. And if you are new, you will have found the education area now. These are the three most recent posts. And this is a podcast I did the other day, a couple of weeks ago, with Etienne Crete. And if you haven't watched it yet and you're not a member, if you go onto Etienne's YouTube channel, which is here, Etienne Crete, I had lots of interesting guests on there. You can find me in there and go through everything. And then for those members who need a refresher, within less than a half an hour, I explain my overall strategy and everything I do. So that will give you a clue to that. And then this potential 5 reasons for taking a trade. And I went through this again. So once again, if you're new and you want to get your head around what we do, it's all summarized in these 2 posts. And then Pierre, I taught Pierre back in 2008. He went pro in 2010 and he still works with us here at Forex Mentor Pro. He has a separate, slightly different system and he shares his strategy with us on a Tuesday, doesn't trade Mondays and doesn't trade Fridays. And then Ashley today, the markets with Trump, it's really difficult at the moment, although I did post yesterday under this post and I actually found quite a lot of M2 trade setups that are nearer than they have been. The last few weeks it's been more difficult. With Trump it's chaotic, and if you start getting in too close to current price you will find yourself getting taken out all the time. However, Ashley has been experimenting for the last 18 months with another way of using what we teach, starting with weekly and daily, but then Ashley does trade intraday as well. I, on the other hand, would rather sit in my deck chair or my yacht. I don't own either, but I don't want to sit in front of a screen all day these days. Now, just let's see if we've got any other comments in there. No. Righty-ho. Oh, Anton says, I'm his first guru. I hope I chose investment as I choose. Hope I choose investments. I think he means better than he chooses gurus or the old ones. Righty ho. So in here, this is the recording of that podcast with Etienne Crete. And I say, if you're completely new and you're not yet a member, you can find it on his YouTube channel. So I did a series of webinars, these live sessions last year, and I talked about successful trading and investing is all about catching the right cycles. And there are actually 3 videos in this series. So these are from live training sessions. And this is explaining how in 2022, late 22, I sold my house in Spain, converted the euro proceeds into dollars. And over the next 12 months, that earned me 15% tax free because it was just in a currency. And I also explained how we caught the crypto in just before the COVID crisis. Omar, one of our students and mentors from years ago, some of you still ask about him. I have actually been in touch with him a little bit of late, but he's still very shy. He tried to persuade me to mine Bitcoin in 2015, and it was a little difficult at the time because I was living on the island of Lanzarote. And if your electricity consumption goes up, the police presume you're growing cannabis in the basement. And the price of electricity was rather expensive there. And Omar was living out in the woods near Portland in Oregon. So it wasn't really very practical. Anyway, I didn't get it, to my shame. So, but I did get I did start to get cryptocurrencies in 2019. 2020 caught the big moves. We were up over 1,000% within 9 months, and a lot of it was shared in here with Forex Mentor folks. And I mean, prior to that as well, I was in gold and silver in the early 2000s, in and out from different times. I was in the dotcom boom in the late 90s, made decent money, and my first foray really into trading and investing, and then naively hung on too long and watched half or probably 2/3 of the profits then disappear. So all of this then is talking about trying to catch the right cycle at the right time. And in the case of gold and silver, because of the money printing during COVID, I explained to folks that that would cause inflation. And in an inflationary environment, the ultimate safe haven is gold. And that turned out to be the case. This is the third of the series. I have put the links in for the blog post for when this is posted tomorrow, my part of this presentation, and you will be able to go back and have a look at these. It took me hours this morning to find them, and that's in the back end. So for you guys, you would have to scroll through hundreds and hundreds of blog posts. So in here, you can find the whole shaboodle, everything I have done basically in the last few years, all in there. And then this is the NASDAQ. Why have I got the NASDAQ there? I was going to show you gold. This is gold from 2000. Well, no, that's a different chart as well. I think I made a mistake there. I don't know why I've got the NASDAQ there. Let me jump forward to here. Oh, so this is the crypto phase. So in October 2020, I hosted a webinar. You can find the recording in here. It's unedited, and it was why I believed in the crypto boom. And the title of the video was why I believe investing in cryptocurrencies could be the best investment decision of your lifetime. And boy, did that turn out to be the case. But it was short-lived, of course. And what I'd stressed to folks along the way is take some profits out and take the initial stake out. So when Bitcoin was doubling in price, we started buying at 8,000 in the February. It went down to 4 in the March with COVID crash. And then it started to move steadily up. It was 2,000 by the October. It was up at 12,000 some. And by the January, it was up at 60 odd thousand. So we caught it right at the right time. But I did tell folks all the way through, take the initial stake out. When the price doubles, take some profit. Not everybody did. But as it is, those that hodled and held on for dear life since that time are still up, I think, around 800-900%. So it was a crazy, crazy time. Gold was more predictable. And then here in 2023, so after the crash in 21, I basically was sat on what I had left in crypto. It was all bought and paid for, and I just left it. And then in 2023, I started to see the signs in the April that Bitcoin looked as though it was going to liven up. And by the July, I was actively buying again. So again, these are parts of the journey along the way. And I was asking the question, should I still buy Bitcoin 2020? That was the question then. And then I was asking the same question in 2023. And the answer was yes. And I started buying Bitcoin again. I believe it was around 25 grand when I started again. So Bitcoin in the April of 2023, you have to excuse me, I've been looking at so many charts again this morning. In 2023, it was, yes, around $25,000. And I explained again why I thought it was going to go on a run, why I got back involved again, and off it went. So that again was another example of catching the right cycle at the right time. This was that April post where I started to say, look, it looks to me as though it's getting going again. We were in an accumulation phase where nothing really was happening, but the underlying adoption of Bitcoin blockchain technology was growing at pace. And so that was that for Bitcoin. And then in March 22, I said, right, Russia is accumulating gold. At the time, they were trying to form a BRICS currency and saying they wanted paying in gold. But again, this was very predictable that gold would go on a run. And I have been in gold on and off, to say, since early 2000s. The idiot in charge of the Bank of England at early 2000, I think it was 2003, Gordon Brown, announced to the world he was selling the British gold reserves at $300 an ounce. And guess what? When you announce to the world you're selling something cheap, the Chinese stepped in and bought shed loads of it for pennies compared to what it would be worth today. In fact, it would be worth 10 times today. And he was the guy, the finance guy, supposedly the smart one in charge of it all. And then here in November of 23, I was talking about this is the best stock trade I've ever done. And unlike, I mean, normally you see this kind of thing from the marketers, but this one, and I'll show you in a little while, I caught this perfectly, but I shared this with you on the 4th of November. And so if you've got a better memory than me, you remember when we get to the MicroStrategy chart in a little while, you will see why I believe it was the best trade I ever made. But I missed out on some profits because of my own failure to learn a different strategy. I made a serious amount of profit from this, as did members and members of my investing group. Best profit I've ever made out of a stock. It was up 1,400% in 15 months. So it was nuts, but I could have made a lot more. And that is what I am studying at the moment. And I am semi-retired now, and I still want to keep mentally as active as possible. And just like with crypto, when something new comes along, it grasps my attention, and I find it exciting and interesting. And therefore, for me, this latest one that I'm studying, a lot of you will know this better than me. But this, so this was a MicroStrategy chart. So remember, November of 23, I posted November 23 that I had just explained why I was buying MicroStrategy. And at the time, MicroStrategy owned 156,000 Bitcoin. And Bitcoin set off. And this type of move here is what I look for all the time, both in forex and crypto and stocks and metals. And I waited months for this to happen. And then when it broke free, I took this. And I usually don't use much leverage on stocks. This one I did use 5x leverage. And the reason is you always look to the left to see what the potential for this is. And I never buy a stock unless I think it can make at least 35% in a shortish period of time. And that made 120% in 3 months. So that was nice. I then took out a chunk of profit. I think I actually took a chunk of profit here, bought some more here. And then when it got up here, originally this was 10 times the value, in that there has been a share split on this. So today, when you look at the price today of $294, when these shares were originally launched, that would have been 2,900. So when it got up here, I said to folks, look, I'm getting out. The short sellers are going to come in, and now's the time to take profit. Because when we got up here, and this is a mixture of technical and fundamentals in harmony, what I said is we've had a massive gain. We had at this point from here to here was 560%. And again, I've taken the stake out, took some profit out, taken profit here, bought more here, taken profit, bought more here, etc. And then I bought again here, bought again here. So the point here was that Bitcoin, by this point, the valuation of MicroStrategy was in effect, the amount of Bitcoin they owned by this point, I think was 200,000. And in effect, it was valuing Bitcoin at almost $180,000 when Bitcoin at the time was around 50. So it made no sense. Now, had I studied options sooner, rather than what I was doing to folks, I said, right, I am going to wait and I'm going to buy at 1350, 1250, and 1050, which I did. However, had I been super smart and spent the time learning options, I could have made a shed load of money here, and I could have made a lot more money here as well with options. So I am a virgin at this subject. I bought my first put the other day, the first time I have bought any options, because I was always led to believe it was too scary. And in actual fact, if you do it in a simple way, that is not necessarily the case. So we're always looking to try to improve. We're always looking for new ideas. I have another crazy thing I'm testing at the moment, which I've thrown a few $1,000s at, and I will report on that later. And again, if I am trying anything new, I put my money where my mouth is before I start to tell anybody else about it. And over the years, I have lost money testing various EAs. Don't bother with any of them anymore. They all went in the bin. I have paid for gurus' different chart strategies and indicators. They all went in the bin. And nowadays, I just use a couple of EMAs, and I use trend lines, and I use Fibonacci, and that is what I've used on here as well as. So the good news is that what we do on here, you can use in any market. And this, as I explained earlier, so this was the buy on MicroStrategy. So that was about as good as you get for an entry. And then here, I called the top. I have been in financial markets for 30 years. This is the best trade I ever did. This is not normal. And the marketers will have you believe that this is, oh, yes, you just did this and you did that. You made a squillion and now you've retired. But for the cynics amongst you, I did post on my Twitter proof. And this is from one of our female members, a lady. She said, Mark, I never made any money in stocks before. Today I sold a bit of my MicroStrategy as you did because I'd sent the message out. She invested $204 in January and cashed out $2,253 in time for Christmas. So here she bought, and she bought on the 26th of January at $48.59. She sold it on the 21st of November. So that's 10 months, 11 months. And she made a profit of 1,000%. And she was late to the party. Some of the other guys that joined me early on were up 1,400%. So crazy, crazy. But the good news is for all of you, you can use these skills to trade and invest in any market. Now, again, going back through over the last few years, this is where I've done updates and explain what I was doing. And then the other thing I was doing is I was buying mining stocks. And that is where I am focusing at the moment. And again, I sent this out last week. I mentioned this a few to you here in Forex Mentor Pro. And I also sent out to my investing clients some buy ideas on gold and silver, because the thing is at the moment the miners are still cheap, and they came down with the crash last week with Trump and made them even cheaper, and I will show you something in a moment about that. But the point, my philosophy at the moment is gold is at all-time highs, silver is testing recent highs, and silver in 2012 was at 49.50, so it could get there. We have very experienced people in the gold field who are talking about gold going to 30,000 and silver going to 1,500 and all sorts of figures. I think 15,000 one of them said the other day. So as ever, boom scenario. But in here, I was talking about, and this is from June 27th of June 2023, I bought some more of the mining stocks I'd invested in. The thinking behind is everything crashes, gold and silver will likely go up. And that is the ultimate safe haven. At the moment, earlier this year, end of last year, I cashed some euros and pounds into dollars. But since then, I've then cashed them and put them into gold because the dollar has now turned. So everything you will come to realize is interlinked. And again, this was in July of 22. I was talking about Mike Maloney. Mike Maloney owned goldsilver.com. There is a really good series on YouTube, free, that you should watch. And it's called The Hidden Secrets of Money. Episode 1. It's very professionally made. They're only 30-minute editions, but it explains the difference between gold and paper money, fiat money, how it all came about. The only thing, of course, Mike Maloney being a bullion dealer is always bullish on gold. And in actual fact, a lot of the time, gold is not a good investment. At the moment, I think it is. So all of that was explained in there as well. And the link will be in the blog post. And then just randomly, other updates I've done. And again, I was trying to hear about the miners and oil and metals. And of course, when we had the Ukraine situation in Israel, Palestine all kicking off, then oil went up. Oil is currently down. And so down here, so this is from October 23, I was talking about if the big picture still remains the same. If the price just sets off now, then $100 a barrel for oil was possible because of the Ukraine and Israel situation, $2,000 and possibly the high of 2,075 for gold, and that would have been a double top. And then $24 I was thinking for to $26 for silver at that time. And again, a lot of this kind of thing, I mean, I'm throwing a lot at you here, and nobody's got the time to watch all of this. But the point is, it's very useful to look at things and go back and look at things historically, what people were saying at the time. Because anybody and everybody now can say, oh, in 2023, I bought MicroStrategy and I got in here and I got out there and it was easy peasy. Whereas you understand from the presentations, particularly the crypto one, in 2020, you will understand how I felt at the time, what my reasoning was, what my emotions were, etc. And emotions ultimately is what kills every trader. So this is gold, and these lines here relate to some of these blog posts here. So on average in 21, I was buying gold at 1800. I also then was buying around 2000, and then after the break higher, and I have, this is another chart. This was, some of you were in the room for this one. This was when I had sold property in Spain and moved to Portugal in the December, and I had to sell my gold to pay the tax leave in Spain. And over Christmas, the damn thing went without me. So I said to folks, right, I was waiting for a pullback to 78.6 fib, 61.8, previous major support and resistance, whole number, 1820. On two occasions, I was saying I was buying there. I have since bought gold at 2295, and I have bought gold as high as 2,500. And I bought some silver the other month when I was cashing in the dollars because the dollar was dropping and weakening. I actually bought some silver at 31, but I was buying at 22 in 2022, and I was buying down at 15 and 18, 17, $18 in 21. So again, if you be in the right place at the right time, you can make some serious money. So in 2024, silver made 46%. I mentioned earlier about mining stocks. This was my best mining stocks. A lot of you have seen this before. Apologies for those who've seen it before. I bought in January of last year. This is the COVID low, and I have the COVID low set on all stocks, all crypto, everything, because if price gets down to the COVID low, my thinking is, well, that's as low as it got. This was nuts because silver was going up at the time. So silver made 46% last year. This made 260. Again, bought, took some profit, bought again, took some profit, bought again, took some profit. You get the picture. So that's what I do. I do that with everything. I do it with crypto as well as with gold, silver, and I use forex over the years. I've used forex to generate the profit to be able to invest into things. And I have even paid, recently I paid 80 grand for Bitcoin. I think it's some 85. I had another order at 75. But my thinking is I didn't actually pay that for it because I have used the profit on some of the smaller stuff to then turn it into Bitcoin. This was a telegram 14th of November from my investing group at 6.5 cents. I said I was buying Hedera, and this is tied in with that Mike Maloney series I just told you about. He spoke about this 7 years ago, and it's also because of Trump. And it was the Trump pro-American cryptos and what was going on in the background. That went up 520% in a month or more. Took the profit, 300% of screaming at people, take the profit, take the stake, put some of it into Bitcoin. At the moment, a lot of this is in the accumulation phase. Everybody's scared, everybody's bought. This is a very bearish signal. Solana, for me at the minute, anywhere between 80 and where it is now, is not expensive. H bar at the moment could drop further, and I tend to buy either in installments, well, generally installments. So I would look to buy some more here, and some more back down here. So all of that you will find in the blogs. So there are a number of blogs, and the main one for me for forex is here. So these are going back years and years and years. You can go back and look at some of these posts I've done and say I will give you the link. And then for the investing side of things, I created a separate blog to make it easier for people to find. And all you need to do is click read more and you are in. And then you can have a look through what I was thinking at different times. And then the other thing I was showing up here, I mentioned earlier, like the decision to buy gold was part fundamental. It was more fundamental than technical. So in here, there is a mini course on trading fundamentals. Grown. Nobody likes to do fundamentals. It's not that complicated. And hopefully I do explain it in a simple way for folks. And then again, if you're new, there's a really good website called Marc to Market that we recommend. And this guy's been a big forex analyst for 20 odd years, and he explains in simple terms what's going on and why and the relevance. So you should get yourself in there. So that's it in terms of gold and silver and my looking at mining at the moment. Things that I also look at, I do subscribe to Alistair McLeod. He's in his 70s. He's been in gold all his life. He is explaining what's going on. He thinks this is just the start of gold bursting out of $3,000. And he does explain on Substack, I think it's $8 a month, and it's well worth it if you're interested in gold. He explains what's going on in the background and what is pushing the price up. And then other people on Substack, this guy, David Jensen, I've only got the free one. I get so overwhelmed with emails every day, I can't cope. He's very good at explaining about gold as well from slightly different perspective. This guy, the Bubble Report, and again, if you sign up for the free emails, he gives so much content away. And he's showing at the moment, this is the issue for silver. It's coming up. This is where we are now today again. It needs to get through here. But if it can get through here, as I said, in 2012, this was at 49.50. So technically, we've nowhere else to go. The only other thing you start doing now is perhaps adding fib extensions. And then there's another part of what's going on. And again, I'll put the link in. This is all about the US repatriating gold back to United States and some of the reasons maybe why. A very interesting article. And again here, this is a fuller article for it. So most people have no idea what's really going on around the world, and they don't understand the financial situation until it's too late. And then everything crashes, their pension collapses, they have to keep working, or their savings disappear. The more you understand about what's going on, then the better prepared you can be. This guy's even suggesting, this guy's got a very, very knowledgeable background in gold and bonds, etc. He thinks that the US, there's talk, as you may know, that of America revaluing their gold at currently valued on the balance sheet at $42 an ounce. So it makes sense. He's suggesting they may even create treasury T-bills based on gold. Because let's face it, the Chinese and Japanese and other countries who are now on top of that Trump is upsetting are not going to be in a rush to buy government debt from America in view of the fact that with the debt mountain being as bad as it is, but if it was a company, it would be bankrupt. Now then, this is the stupidity of man. I couldn't believe this when I read this the other day. So in America, they like to sell, I think it's 1 kilo bars. In the UK, and the London bullion market traditionally is for hundreds of years has been the center point for gold and storage, and it's cheaper to store and custodian in the UK. So in the UK, the bars are like you see a house brick, the ones you see on the movies. So what they're having to do at the moment, the Americans are calling back the gold that was in London, but they don't want it in 12.5 kilo bars. So they're putting it on a plane and shipping it to Switzerland to go to this factory where they are smelting it, reducing it in size to make 1 kilo bars, and then they're sending it to New York. I mean, how stupid are we as a species? It makes no sense. Well, it does in a perverse way, but it doesn't in another way. That's just nuts. What else have we got in Substack? No, we forget that one. We can forget that now as well. As far as gold, I buy gold through Bullion Vault in the UK. You can buy $50 worth. You can buy bars. It's all, well, mine's stored in Switzerland, so it never leaves the vault. And therefore, you're not paying insurance. You're not paying any kind of duty or sales tax on it. And it is stored away from the UK government, where I am citizenship, and away from Portugal, where I am a resident. And then in America, goldsilver.com. I've never used them, but this is Mike Maloney's company. And he used to give away his book as a freebie, Gold and Silver, which is a good book. I have read the book. It was in conjunction with Robert Kiyosaki years ago. And this is that Hidden Secrets of Money. And then so into here, what is going on at the moment? NASDAQ has broken clearly below the trend line, the major support and resistance. It did break the 55 the other day. It's retesting again now. Today is going to be very important in the markets, and equally for the S&P. It broke, it's come back. These are lines I've had on here for months and months and months. Touched the 200 EMA, which is why I use it. And again, this is Make Your Mind Up Day today. And you also have RSI. I don't use RSI on forex anymore, but RSI down here is starting to turn up. And the last time it crossed the 30 line and went on a run, it did go on a big run. My personal bias at the minute, I suspect we might be on for a bit more of a rundown first. I think we may then get a relief rally, and then I think we could get a bigger drop. I could, of course, be completely wrong, and often am, but I make my decisions in a controlled risk way, and I always try to hedge what I'm doing. And so, for example, my stocks at the moment are down, but I have been buying in recent weeks, but my gold is up. And that's been my traditional way of hedging things, either using ETFs or using metals at the moment. So again, gold and silver we've had a look at, shown you the silver miners. Bitcoin at the moment is accumulating. It can't make its mind up. Everybody's lost interest at the moment. I did buy some, I bought some the other day at 80. I had an order at 76.50, which just missed. But I am still bullish on Bitcoin. And Ethereum, I bought some at 2 grand and I bought some at 1800, so cost average in at 19. So I am active in all of this stuff, which is quite strange because when it comes to Forex, I am very conservative. I only risk 0.5% per trade. I have to have multiple reasons to take a trade, and yet I am heavily into crypto and other riskier asset classes, as well as, whew, said all of that without a break for a sip of my tea, which has now gone cold. Any questions before we move on
Well,
anything?
I was going to say, Mark, gold, since I've met you, I think gold has been my best ever investment. So when I first joined FMP in 2020, I missed it because I think you bought it first, right? And you were
Yeah.
talking about it, but I never understood anything about investment around that time. And then when it dropped again, I bought it around 1,600 average, and it was a good time because for me, I prefer to own the physical one, but that's when I bought quite a few ounces of it, and it's up 83%. Haven't sold any of it yet. Me and Mafila were having a discussion last week when it came to 3 grand, getting twitchy on it. Because what I was looking at the chart, always look back, as you said, at
Mm.
1 grand, at 2 grand, price has dropped quite a lot. So I was thinking about, right, is it going to do the same thing, or is it going to keep going up because it might be different this time? So, so a lot of questions. It was a really hard decision, and Mafila said, no, we're going to hold and we're going to buy more when it drops. So I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, she's the better investor, isn't she? When she was doing
yeah,
gold
she's
before,
she's a lot
she's
she's a lot better at gold than me.
this is Ashley's
Um,
wife. They married last year. I think she'd make a really good poker player with your missus. She would hold. Um, yeah, but your crypto must be up more than 83%, surely.
yes, it is. It is
Yeah.
up a lot. Yeah,
I
I've got her
remember.
into crypto as well.
Yeah, you went off to Dubai. Ashley's from Goa originally, his family, which is in India, and culturally, the Indians go mad on buying gold at certain times of the year, and they want physical gold, and it's for weddings as well, isn't it? You had the same thing
Yeah.
when you were getting married. So there's the traditional part of it. The Chinese traditionally buy gold as well as. And then obviously gold is used for jewelry, etc. The thing is, if you read some of these articles like the Alistair McLeod, there ain't enough of it. And the whole way that the gold system works is insane. That they basically write IOUs out for it. Most of it's being traded in ETFs, but now people are asking for the physical metal, and there ain't enough of it. And there are rumours that the Bank of England is running out. Whether that be true or not, we will not know because they don't have to declare it. But yeah, I mean, I'd say I was in gold and silver in the early 2000s, and then after the crash in 2008, it was the best investment. And then from 2008 to 9 to 12, it was great. And then it was rubbish because it just went sideways and drifted lower. But it goes well in a crisis. And at the moment with Trump, we don't know. But if we get a ceasefire today in Ukraine, he's talking to Putin in a few hours' time. If that's announced, if the situation in Israel stabilizes again, then yeah, it could drop temporarily. But my personal bias is I am not selling any of it. The other thing to think about actually in the UK, if you've got any in a, not in physical, but if you've got any in something like Bullion Vault, then you have got a personal tax allowance in the UK per adult. And now it's terrible in the UK, it's only £3,000 each. But you can declare the profit for tax purposes and not have to pay any tax. So as a couple, you wouldn't pay tax on £6,000 and then you buy it again is an option. So anybody from the UK, from your own tax jurisdiction, you'll have to check and find out what the rules are. A lot of stuff in America, if you hold, I know for stocks, and I think even for crypto, more than a year, the tax comes down to 15%. So again, try to be as tax efficient as possible. But if you're in the UK, gold is one of the few things nowadays you can still make profit on and not pay tax up to an allowance. It used to be 12 grand each, so it was great years ago. Right, have I got anything else I wanted to share with folks? I think we've been through all of that. I think that's it from me. And Anton says, what do you think about the Palantir stock? I did actually buy some A-grade stocks the other week. I'm not bought a right lot because I think everything's going to come down further. But I did buy some Amazon and I did buy some Google and some Palantir, but not a lot. But I was reading yesterday about Nvidia. I think I bought some Nvidia as well. Not massive amounts. I tend to nibble my way in. But I was reading about Nvidia yesterday. I think Nvidia is sat on 40. Oh, I can't read my own notes. It's either 43 or 143. So it's very important to find out. $1 billion in cash is Nvidia. So I did buy some of that, some Palantir, some Amazon, and some Google. But that's not to say that I don't think it could drop even further. So certainly don't take it as financial advice. These are other examples of mining stocks that I own, but these are now too high for me. So I sent out the message the other week at $6 for this one for First Majestic. Originally bought it down here below the COVID low, bought again. And I bought some more the other week at $6, and that's up at 7.23. And remember, I only buy stuff if it can make at least 25% in a relatively short space of time. And I only buy crypto if it can make 35% in a relatively short space. But I'm not interested in buying when things are all-time highs. Yes, I miss out sometimes, but also I miss often this could fake out pullback. I always wait for pullbacks. There are other opportunities along the way. Let's see if we can find another one at the moment. Now, all of this lot we're in and it's gone. And I have some tied up in a frozen pension as well. This was Nvidia the other week. So I bought a bit of Nvidia at 120. I have orders at 105, and I also have what classes a stink bid around 81. And then these are some of the bigger mining stocks. So see if I've got any of the others up there. Tesla, I never really liked Tesla. So I'm not in that. I sold Nike. I bought some Nike a while ago, and that really wasn't going anywhere. Palantir. So Palantir, I have orders lower down. I did buy a bit the other week in a different way. So that's not necessarily, if you're in my investing group, I may not have announced that, but I did buy a bit of that. And again, it's a pullback to a trend line, etc., previous support and resistance. I was in Baba, got taken out. Now the damn thing's gone without me. The Chinese are trying to revitalize their economy. And Bidu I missed. This is a breakout. So a pullback on this, I think this is Chinese as well, pullback to there could make me my 25%. So I will set an alarm for there. And once again, I wait for the pullback. I don't dive in now, because if I dive in now, it won't make my 25% either. This is an English thing I bought recently. Netflix didn't. I was in Uber. Again, that was a personal thing. I was in Tem. That was another thing. I'm out of a lot of it now. So yes, I'm active in all of it. Oh, the final thing for those of you who are new, I do show this numerous times. Every day I go in here to TradingView and I'm trying to work out where the big money is flowing. If the money is flowing into the dollar, then generally it will be coming out of stocks and crypto. So this is kind of my barometer for what's going on. And then I'm looking at what's going on in the stock market. So I anticipate a rejection here, or if it pulls through, I wouldn't be in a rush to buy because it could well be a fake out. And I try to work out what's happening in the gold. So in a risk-off environment, when everybody's scared and concerned about the economy and worried about having money tied up in stocks, people traditionally for 5,000 years have put money into gold, and it is the ultimate safe haven. And then I say silver is used more than gold, and it was at $49. So technically, it's got, if it can get past here, as I showed you with that other chap, and I think I put a very thin line. Oh, don't want to put a thick line in there, Mark, because this sounds really silly, but I don't want that to be a block. So I'll have to sort it in a little while. Where have we gone? I want a nice thin line in there. There we go. One line, one thickness. So if we can get through here, we could be off on a good run on silver. And silver is used more than gold in manufacturing, and therefore it's needed. And it's particularly used in solar panels, and a lot of the world is trying to go greener, and solar panels are one of the things that they are looking at. Right, I'm not going to leave Ashley any time if I don't stop now. I did post yesterday in Mentor Pro, so if you're interested in my take on M2, you can find that in my blog, and that's this post here. Right, over to you, Ashley.